if you're somebody that's finding yourself being knocked around in this wind of who can shout the loudest about what's best for you and you actually don't know where to start or what to do, this is the video for you. About 2 years ago, a video came out.
Why you should stop counting calories.
People went nuts.
It is physics. I actually heard this woman talk about how this was an outdated concept. It's physics.
Amazing. She's figured out how to break the laws of thermodynamics.
It still really bothers me, and I've just re-watched the video and it's bothered me again. And I'll share with you the things that bother me the most. Firstly, I hate how larger platforms handled this. And also because I feel there could be a larger, healthier, more supportive conversation that we could have. My name is Sifi. I'm a personal trainer and nutrition coach who works with my clients one-on-one to help them learn to trust food, eat in a way that's practical and sustainable, and to help put an end to obsessive crash dieting, yo-yo dieting, drop food fear, eat inclusively with their families, enjoy food, lose weight, and be able to maintain it. So, this is the issue I wish to discuss today.
These outdated rules have turned us into obsessive warriors, fat-fearing, calorie-counting, treadmill slaves.
This is the polarity that I want to talk about. Tracking macros versus intuitive eating is just getting bigger. I'd like to open up a conversation about how they can actually live together. And very often things can live together. For context, please just consider this video one big giant refute to the claim that calories in versus calories out is wrong. And this is not particularly to this one video, this is to a lot of people speaking about the inefficacy of tracking macros. I want to help you gain some clarity in what to do to help you address your weight loss goals. So, without further ado, or more ado, let's get into the video. Now, firstly, I want to share one thing with you. I really like Shelley Darlington. I actually like a lot of the coaches that I see talking smack about tracking macros. I don't want to name a load of people because otherwise it just gets into... But because we are speaking specifically really to Shelley, I just wanted to put it out there that I actually really like her. I like her content, I like her videos. I think politically, from what I can see, she and I are singing very much from the same song sheet. Now, I also understand that, you know, I'm an adult. If I don't like something that I hear, I can easily just put it down and move on. When you do have a platform of over 250,000 people, in my opinion, you do not get to spout off bias and then just tell anybody to ignore it if they don't like what they're hearing. Now, I think some of these bigger channels, which happen to be mostly male dominated, really went in at her, and I think that is unacceptable. To tear apart somebody's character, to talk about what they look like, absolutely no go. Why haven't I just moved on and just gone, don't like it, not listening to it? Well, it's because I actually sent clients of mine to go and watch this video. Oh, hello, buddy. We've had a new addition to the family, which is my schnauzer. This is Maximilian. Where was I? Bias. Oh yeah. As I said, I'm a really busy coach. I'm very lucky. I'm a one-person band. I have myself in my business and my virtual assistant. So there's only so much that I can cover. So when I come across channels or books or podcasts or research papers that I think might benefit my clients, I'll send them over to have a look. I'll be like, hey, look at this. It's really interesting. So imagine my surprise when some of my clients came back to me and were like, you know how you're getting us to track macros? Well, she says it's shit. So that's when I was like, in all honesty, I like some of the stuff that she was saying. It's absolutely true. But the thing that chaps me the absolute most, tracking macros or looking at your calories is in some way impractical, neurotic, psychologically damaging, codependent and outdated, and this is the best one, fueling eating disorders. Now, as somebody who did actually suffer with an eating disorder, I mean terribly with eating disorders, I need to step in here. Tracking macros and learning the nutritional fundamentals was an enormous pivotal point in my life. It was instrumental in undoing so much fear. Do you want to get down? around food. Before I get into things even further, I do want to disclaimer one thing, because I think these videos should always have some sort of disclaimer, right? Which is, we're personal trainers. And that's the bare bone basics of it. The fact is, we're not endocrinologists, we're not doctors, we're not investigative journalists, we're not nutritional scientists, we're personal trainers, and we've got experience working with clients anecdotally, and also we very likely, I can speak for myself certainly, have a well-rounded education and have been learned to think critically, be able to read research papers, and to be able to dive deeper into the research of nutrition, and to be able to have a well-rounded argument for our own opinions. And I think it's important to state this because it is our duty to be speaking within the realms of what we can do for our client, what we can teach as facts, and also what our purpose is and what our job is in influencing positive change for our clientele. Now, if there is one thing that I can absolutely assure you, is that nobody can agree on which diet is the best diet. It is also my personal policy to base all my coaching off of what I know to be facts, and also not just to pull on my own biases and do just what works for me and then just kind of mold it into something that might fit other people. So I do want to share with you a few things that have come up in the video, and I do think it's important for us to critically look at what's being said. Just so I'm completely clear with you, the thing that specifically chaps my ass is when people talk about counting macros, tracking calories as being very, very outdated and not relevant and inaccurate. And it means that if actually you are looking at tracking your macros or your calories, or you indeed work with anybody who's teaching you to do so, that they're in some way supporting your eating disorder. This just isn't true. Now, there are ways of turning anything around.
By the way, did you know that the treadmill was actually invented in the 1800s as a way to punish prisoners in jail?
It suggests that actually you're using a device of torture when actually perhaps maybe you live in a really, really hot country. I've got a client who lives in Dubai. It's the middle of the desert in the height of summer. She can't get outside, so she actually uses a treadmill so she can actually get up her activity levels. What happens if you happen to be somebody who enjoys some physical exercise, but you're at home with a crying colicky baby?
Or do you think that tribes like the Maasai in Africa worry about overshooting their calories for the day because they might get fat? By the way, they actually eat a really calorie-dense diet of raw milk and blood and meat. And they actually stay really lean and muscular and have 0 cases of obesity or diabetes.
Well, that's all great, but I also don't think that the tribes in Messiah have sedentary jobs and are worried about the price of fuel. There's a huge difference between correlation and causation. And also, we must be sure that we are speaking with relevance when it comes to things like our lifestyle.
Really? Do you think that your great-grandma weighed her food before she cooked it in a time when obesity and heart disease did not exist?
Because my great-grandmother was trying to survive World War II, and she was busy dividing up vegetarian rations and dodging bombs, quite literally. In fact, she even had to kill my dad's pet chicken, Frida, for meat, which is a whole different story. My grandmother was very lean, but that's mostly because there was not enough food, and so therefore she was in a calorie deficit because she was under-eating the amount of calories that she needed. And yes, I agree, my grandmother would probably laugh her ass off at me if she knew that in order to monitor weight, we had to count macros. But we lived in a very, very different time. She lived in a very, very different time. Foods are only getting more hyperpalatable, they're only getting more convenient, and this is a problem. We do need to look at that. So I absolutely agree with the fundamentals that our food quality does have to come into things, but that doesn't negate the fact that calories are a thing and they are something that can be looked at and monitored. So the thing that I really don't like is the tearing down of a system or using what is actually seemingly to me, unless I'm missing something, irrelevant examples in order to use some kind of, I don't think she's trying to create shame, but some kind of embarrassment over ourselves and how we approach weight loss. And I've noticed, especially on things like Instagram, that a lot of the fitness influencers who are talking about calories and counting calories as being bad and we shouldn't do it and all it needs to be is about intuitive eating and listening to ourselves, is these are people who've actually got the nutritional fundamentals. They understand tracking macros. They've spent time doing this, so they've not only forged a way of eating that is actually in accordance with their goals, but they've actually learnt about what food is. The fact is, being able to actually decipher what your body wants is a skill set. So one of the key things that comes up is the idea that we should be eating intuitively. Now, I wholly agree with this. We should be living at a time where we can actually listen to ourselves and actually be able to tune in with our needs. However, this is what I would consider to be optimal and the thing that we want to be achieving. That's kind of like top of Everest, right? Especially if you're somebody who has been struggling with binge eating your whole life, if you've always been dieting, if you've got particular fears around food, then it's very, very hard to hear past that noise and start listening to ourselves from the offset. So what we need to do is actually eat intelligently. That starts with education. The ultimate thing I want to get my clients to always is to be able to listen to themselves and eat intuitively and move intuitively. However, you would never ever expect somebody just to pick up a language like that. There does come a little bit of formal learning and reading with helps with learning an ultimate language. So yes, we want to be fluid, but we kind of need to start learning the vocabulary first. When we start thinking about intuitive eating, the thing that's really important to build upon is that trust that we have for ourselves and the trust that we have in food. Now, I tell you something, I work with some really, really high-powered, career-driven women, okay? I work with people who are CEOs, run massive teams, people who have multiple children, who have multiple degrees, and yet, because this whole nonsense that is the dieting industry and the food industry, it's so confusing out there that they become totally frightened of potatoes. Like, when you start being scared of potatoes, then we put a lot of emotional emphasis on the food that we're eating, which serves nothing. So this is why I love to get my clients to start tracking macros, because it starts detaching the emotions we have around food and starts looking at it from a factual base. Even if it means that it's not exact and a lot of what we're doing might be guesswork, it's largely within the scope of understanding how to make better choices and to start debunking a lot of these myths around food.
Excuse me, can you just wait a minute while I get my calculator out?
The idea that tracking macros is massively time consuming and leaves us completely codependent with our macro trackers is just absolutely nonsense. I will put a playlist in the link below where it shows you how easy it is to track your macros. I track my macros on occasion, and when I do, I still eat inclusively with my family. I still eat family meals. It's very, very easy to do. Fundamentally, when you're tracking your macros, what you're looking at is numerical portion control. And for people who fundamentally have lost trust in their ability to listen to themselves and lost trust in food, it is an amazing bridge tool to help manage their mindset around their food and helping us step out of fear and into more critical thinking. I urge my clients to look at tracking macros as a way of actually building up that ability to think critically. Move out of the emotional response that is food and into the best we can, the facts of what we're doing versus what we feel we're doing. So I think we should pull things back a little bit, because some of you who are coming here don't necessarily know really much about calories and how they work. So real simple science here. Calories are basically a unit of energy. So basically it's how we measure how much energy there is in the food that we're eating. These calories are broken up into different macronutrient groups. So we've got fats, carbohydrates and proteins, and the other place where there is calories in the diet is in alcohol. And anytime we're eating food, you're eating 1, 2, some all of a breakdown of these macronutrients. So whether you like it or not, whether you accept it or not, calories are there and they matter. Now, one of the things that she does mention in her video is that a calorie is a calorie is a calorie, and that not being true. I'll make you completely right. Calories outside of the body, like when we're measuring them, yes, they're completely even. However, once they're in the body, that's very, very different. Calories from protein is not utilized in the same way as calories from carbohydrates. Calories from carbohydrates is not utilized in the same way as fats. All these macronutrients have different jobs in the body, but we also have to look at how we get these foods into our body, meaning our food selection. So this is one thing I'm in complete agreement with. Our food quality really does matter, but I don't think we need to go off on such a tangent that means that we are completely taking our clients away from eating foods that they actually find really palatable. The fact is, we do have access to highly palatable foods. Now, my personal value, my personal bias, my personal opinion is that I don't wish to partake a lot in that food. I like to eat whole single ingredient foods. I don't like to buy into big food companies. However, I also still like to be able to go out and have pizza with my boy. I really like to have a spot of ice cream sometimes. And like it or not, I do have a bit of a sweet tooth. I also enjoy things like putting honey in my tea. I find certain things convenient. Sometimes I want to have a protein shake. Sometimes I want to sit and veg out and eat some popcorn in front of the TV. Now, back in the days when I had an eating disorder, that was unacceptable because I did sign off on the whole idea that counting... Max! Stop! I did sign off on the fact that counting calories was inherently damaging for my health. So what I did was I started adopting this idea that there were certain foods that were bad and that I shouldn't be consuming and certain foods that I should. So I fell into this pattern of what you would actually call orthorexic eating, which is only eating clean foods, only eating pure food, never deviating from that. And I got to the point that actually, if ever I did have something like a teaspoon of hummus or whatever, I'd start freaking out. And when you start asking yourself, you can have a teaspoon of hummus and that's like cause for a breakdown, then you're gonna have to start having words with yourself. When I started looking at calories, I absolutely could start demystifying all these scary foods that I just wouldn't let myself have ever, because rightly or wrongly, people want to eat enjoyable, palatable foods. So I really find when I start teaching my clients how to look at calories and how to actually start managing their nutrition, they find that it starts demystifying a lot of these foods that's been on their no-fly zone for so long. If I'm eating intuitively, I will tend not to eat very much in the way of fats at all. I just don't like them. So I have to make an actual conscious effort to pull my fats up. So that's actually going against my intuition. However, I know for my health that I do need to eat a higher volume of fats. So when I'm tracking my macros, I can look at the data there and I can see, okay, time to start upping these a little bit, because otherwise I don't really think to.
There is no way that you can work out with any sort of precision or accuracy how many calories you're taking in, nor how many calories you're actually using.
I'll make you right there. It is at best a guesstimation, and that's because our food fluctuates. You might be eating 100 grams of avocado, but one avocado might be more watery than the other one. So actually, one might have more calories in because it's more nutritionally dense, whereas one might be more hydrated. So this is going to make a bit of a difference to the calorie amount. However, if we're using a tool to give us a general idea, a general gauge of where we are within our nutrient needs, and these small fluctuations don't matter moment to moment. The body deals with averages, it doesn't deal with exacts. So my recommendation for you, if you are wanting to start tracking calories, is don't sweat the micromanagement. Don't sweat the real small stuff.
I don't know about you, but I legit feel like not only do I need a maths degree to figure out how many calories I need to eat in a day, but now I need a physics degree on top of that to work out how much energy I'm burning.
You do not need to have a master's degree in maths or physics in order to be able to track your macros. It doesn't have to be that overly complicated. Now, I've actually got a video in my playlist about actually what the metabolism is and how calories work with the metabolism. So things like our metabolism, our personal metabolism, our basal metabolic rate, our total daily energy needs, these things are fluid and they fluctuate. So yes, it is very hard to go away and come up with a perfect set of numbers, because actually we're more than just a set of numbers. We are our history, we are what we've been doing chronically, and our body is the result of what we've been doing for a very, very long time. And actually, when I work with somebody who maybe has been dieting for years, and they're at a point where they're barely consuming your 1,200 calories, it's really useful to start being able to find out kind of where they are metabolically, so we can actually start increasing their calorie ceiling. And there is nothing more rewarding for me as a coach than watching my clients get excited about being able to eat more in the way of calories, being able to eat more inclusively with their family, being able to eat more variety of food outside of their former clean eating, low calorie ways.
Excuse me. Can you just wait a minute while I get my calculator out? Yeah, no, I'm just calculating how many calories are in this banana.
The idea that you have to spend any time trying to work out the thermic effect of food and the thermic effect of your exercise that you're doing, and the calories exactly from the amount of NEAT you're doing, and the fact that you have to manage your basal metabolic rate, it's just so overly complicated, and it's spoken about in such a way that would be enough to put anybody off anything. It's often a simple equation of getting your numbers at a start place. The other point that I want to make is this video is clearly biased. It's clearly biased towards a low carbohydrate, high fat diet. Now, fundamentally, I ain't gonna argue with that. One thing I will pride myself in is the fact that I am unbiased. So I have got personal views and values, some of which I've shared, but I don't bring my personal values into my coaching. The fact is, I want to get my clients to eat in a way that they enjoy, that's fun for them. Because when we're eating a way that's enjoyable and fun and inclusive and isn't restrictive at all, then my clients thrive. When you're dieting, when you're wanting to make a physical change to your body, something is going to get restricted. That's face facts. If we're making any changes in our life, we're going to be changing something, right? And that can feel restrictive. So when you're tracking macros and tracking calories, then actually you're going, no food is off limits here. I can eat anything, it just needs to factor into these macros. So of course this can be completely bastardized, and you can have if it fits your macros and eat a ton of convenience food and junk food and eat your however many calories you've given yourself of cake. But the thing is, tracking calories and tracking macros needs to not be the only part of your weight loss journey. So that brings me really nicely into actually the ending of her video, which is talking about actually mindset. And here I was just like, yes, girl, go, 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 100%. Because the fact is, girls, if you are really struggling with your mindset when it comes to how you show up for yourself, then actually, regardless of your tracking macros, doing keto, doing paleo, intermittent fasting, intuitive eating, however you look at it, it's so much more. And this is a lot of what I do with my clients in coaching. We have to look at mindset as well as things like macros, and being able to bridge our way from the tool that is counting macros into other ways of eating and being and serving for ourselves. So that's it. That's my little rant. That's my refute. I personally am a huge advocate for tracking macros, especially if you are absolutely in the place that I once was and where many of my clients start out with, which is being completely fearful and out of alignment with yourself and trusting yourself and your ability to eat food. There is a space and a place for both macro tracking and intuitive eating and the work of mindset, all to cohabit together. So that's me done for the day. Thank you for coming along and listen to my TED Talk. But I hope you have a good day. Do all the stuff, like, subscribe, whatever. See, take care.